Hey guys, it's Logan Crocker with Marketing for Normal People, and I just checked out the full webpage for the Apple Watch Series 10. I'll have the link to that video down below. But I do want to go ahead and look just a little bit at the Apple Watch Ultra 2 website, because the Apple Watch Ultra 2 itself is not new, but they did redo the web page because they came out with a new color and they're trying to make it feel fresh and all of that to drive some new interest. And so they have a new web page for it. However, they don't really have any new and exciting features, and I definitely don't, for me personally as an Apple consumer, I don't need features for me beyond what the normal Apple Watch provides. So the Apple Watch Ultra isn't a product for me, especially at its price point, but I do think that there's plenty that we can check out from trying to see how they're marketing to the people that they're trying to market to, their intended audience. And there are some cool things about the website. I did check this one out a little bit. I'm going into all the other ones cold, but the Apple Watch Ultra 2 didn't have new features. And so I checked it out a little bit in advance to see if it was even worth doing a video on. There are a few things that I want to show you. So let's go ahead and dive into it. So we'll click Learn More. And we have this nice, I really like that animation where it just kind of tilts up like that. That's very nice. And unlike the Apple Watch Series 10, so with this one, we have this whole issue I talked about in the other video where there's this bar underneath because it's not stretching to the entire size of the screen. This one that looks way better where it actually goes to the bottom of the screen. There's not this awkward bar. So why they didn't do with the Apple Watch Series 10 what they did with the Apple Watch Ultra 2, I have no idea. But that's the right way to do it, folks. All right, anyway, new finish, never quit. So yeah, so they have a new finish, which is this black color. And they're really, really making this top part of this webpage very, very black and dark to really emphasize that. It's interesting. This, if we actually, looked at what the actual hex color of this is, it's pretty light. And they're doing that. They have lighting, their product lighting on it, because it's still, you have a black background and then you have a black watch on top of that. You need to make sure that black watch is sticking out of the black background, and they're doing a good job of that here. You wouldn't think of this as, a really light color, but if you were actually sampling that color, it'd be pretty light. So I just say that because a lot of web designers, if you try and put a black product on a black background, that's going to be difficult. You have to create contrast, and they're creating successful contrast here, but that is difficult to do. So just make sure you're careful if you want to copy something like what they're doing, because white against black tends to create contrast and make things very readable and viewable, and are typically what you want to do. Anyway, so we have a little call to action here for watch the film. There was no film or anything really that exciting for the Apple Watch Series 10, apparently, so that's interesting. But anyway, survival of the toughest. They're going over design. So yeah, it is interesting. How do you take a product that has essentially nothing new about it other than a finish, and how do you, make it sound really, really exciting? I mean, the Apple Watch Ultra 2 is an exciting product. There are a lot of cool things it can do. And this gives them a chance to rethink their marketing for this Apple Watch, and I think that it's always nice to have a round two. But all right, we got some good callouts over here. I like that. Action on the spot. That's a little too creative for me. That doesn't immediately tell that something about action button, or at least pointing to this action on the spot and pointing to this. Like, I know that they're highlighting the orange button right there, but it's not clear that that's about the action button. You have to read this text right here to see that. Anyway, docking a few points for not being clear to the consumer on what that section's about. All right, battery life for miles. See, that's better. It's directly calling out battery life. The consumer who's reading this page knows that this is about battery life. That's what you want. Also, it has a little icon right there, and it's branded to match the color. This color scheme of what's going on here. So anyway, that's great. That's what you want to do. A little icon. It still looks sleek. It still looks very modern, very nice. Then battery life for miles. Like you want to say what the thing's about in your little, it's basically a little sub headline that they have there. And yeah, that's way better than this. So it's interesting. Sometimes Apple does great stuff, and sometimes they do things that just have me as a marketer going like, man, like, I don't know. I'm assuming that they're focus group testing this kind of stuff, but it's interesting. You know, I'd love to see what their click map looks like. All right. Personal bests made better, so you know you can use it for running. Now, here's what I want to point out. So with this image, I think they're doing a good job. This is black and white. This whole image is black and white. It is too big, just like with the Apple Watch Series 10, because they have some images too. So like if we go down here, so here's the Apple Watch Series 10, and they do have an interesting grainy aesthetic for some of these images, which I think is interesting. It's like it's kind of like the just the overall vibe of the photos. They're keeping somewhat consistent. But here, it's not grainy at all, but it is black and white. And then again, we have this orange accent color, which I think is working really, really well. But this is in color. The Apple Watch itself is in color, which helps draw the eye to it, and I think that's great. And a little sneak peek spoiler, if we go down to this section, it's the exact same thing with black and white, but then you have the colored Apple Watch. So I think that's really good. I love that they're using that consistently. I think that is just a good way to handle some graphics and make things pop and make things feel a little more pro on your site. Anyway, we have more cards here for different features. I think that works in plenty of ways. I do think, Apple used to be relying on pop-ups more. They were like, hey, check out more features here, or like learn more about this by clicking on this pop-up. They had these pop-up buttons. Actually, here let's see if there's one on the Apple Watch Series 9. I still have the site up. Anyway, there's nothing cool like this on so far that I've seen in the Ultra 2 site or on the Apple Watch Series 10 site. And that's unfortunate because this looks great. So yeah, I'm disappointed that they missed out on that. But all right, actually I'm not seeing a button for this, but they definitely had them on the phone. So literally like there it is. So like here's these like buttons that have pop-ups. So they would do this kind of thing all the time on a lot of their pages. They still have some on their iPhone pages, but yeah, it seems like Apple's relying more on this card structure instead of the pop-ups, where instead of like popping up your sliding. And when I reviewed those other websites, I mentioned that a lot of people probably aren't clicking on those pop-ups. And so a lot of people are missing that great information. And so I think this is a good way to communicate, hey, there's information here, and it's more clear that, that there's more to see. There's more that you can check out. It doesn't interrupt the whoever's looking at the website. It doesn't interrupt them as much. But it's also clear, you can kind of start them down a path. And in theory, you'd want to definitely have your most exciting feature here. So, but yeah, you'd start them down a path. They read 1, they read 2, they read 3. It's obvious that there's more over here. So then you click over. And these also work with arrows and everything too. So they've done a good job. It also works with scrolling. So on a programming level, they've done a really good job making it easy for people to get to the next thing. All right, so yeah, so they basically are doing this section very themed and consistent. So we got running, and then we have features that are specific to running, and then we got cycling and this great graphic, and then features that are specific to cycling, and then down below we got swimming and a stroke of genius, and then we have features that are specific to swimming. It is interesting with a product like this because, I'm sure a lot of people do different kinds of workouts. And again, I like the black and white and the colored Apple Watch, but I'm sure lots of people do different kinds of workouts. But a lot of these mega enthusiasts, like they're going to only get it for cycling because they're real cycling enthusiasts. They're not a swimming enthusiast or a running enthusiast. So it is interesting to have so many features, but have the things that someone will actually use be a small subset of those features. But I do like that they are, speaking to those people here. Now, that said, honestly, up here or somewhere easily accessible on their page, I think it would be worth, because these are the people that see, I'm not, I have my workout routine and all that kind of stuff, but I am not a hardcore cyclist or a hardcore runner or a hardcore swimmer. And so I'm not as much the target market for this particular product, but those kinds of people are the exact perfect market for this kind of product. The hardcore cyclists, the hardcore swimmers, the hardcore runners. And so I would really have like just a much smaller page, but just a page that's specific. Like, this is why this is your greatest running partner. And yes, they have this, and they have these these sections, but I think that they could, with video and a lot more graphics and a lot more interaction and really just making the whole thing about running, I think that they would be better served to market to runners with an individual page that is dedicated to runners. And so anyway, just trying to cram everyone into the same box can backfire with marketing in a lot of cases. But with smaller brands, you only have so many resources, so making an individual advanced page for every single case where someone might use your product can be tricky, but Apple has the budget for it. So anyway, my 2 cents there. All right, and then we got hiking. So we have swimming, and then we go down to hiking. And we have our hiking features right here. Wonderful. And we got our diving. You're never out of your depth. So lots of good uses for the Apple Watch Ultra. But again, these are all people who they're intense. They're very, very serious about what they do. And I'm so serious that, typically they're looking for diving specific products or swimming specific products or cycling specific products. If you're looking at a bike or a tire or a bike brake or something like that, you are, it's all about cycling. And to those cyclers, this is a biking tool. And so I would love to see something where you're treating it primarily as a biking tool, and then, hey, to learn about other things that the Apple Watch Ultra can do, click here. So that's one of the biggest things I would find a way to do if they asked my opinion, and I'm certain that they won't, but that is my opinion nonetheless. All right, more sports. It's great in every arena. So I like this graphic. I like that they show that it can, do lots of things with lots of different sports. And so, snowboarding, rowing, and golf. See, skiing I actually do care about. Skiing I'd be interested in more use cases there, but yeah, like it doesn't do enough for skiing to my knowledge to make it some sort of magical new experience. But yeah, I like that they're covering their bases. But again, like even if it does help with skiing, if it does help with rowing, if it does help with golf, this is where a lot of times, I just kind of said that the pop-ups that they used to do weren't very good. In a lot of cases, they weren't, because they were features that actually mattered to almost everyone. Like dive deeper on battery life. Like battery life, it matters to everybody. But with things like this, like how it applies to skiing, snowboarding, rowing, golf, things like that, I would have at least a pop-up. You could certainly a separate page for these, but then at least a pop-up or even a little mini page that's just like, hey, if you're a skier, this is going to matter here. If you're playing golf, this is going to matter here. I think that, like, they say that it helps with that, but how? I don't know how that's actually going to help me as a skier, and so I don't know that I particularly care. So that's that. All right, health. Of course, there's health features, and so it's interesting that they went into all the sports, and now they are keeping a similar vibe with the black and white and the colored watch, but they're going into a truly different idea here. Like all the other things were more extreme sports, and now we're going into health features, but they're keeping it with the same structure, the same site structure as the sport. So that's interesting. So we got more cards here, and it's basically probably the majority of this I'm sure the Apple Watch Series 10 can do. All right, ways to be connected. Again, this is probably stuff that I'm sure that the Apple Watch Series 10 can do. The real differentiating factor of why someone would want an Apple Watch Ultra is because of these things. Cycling, your swimming, your hiking, like the extreme stuff is why you would actually care about an Apple Watch Ultra. So yeah, freedom from cellular. Given that, I do like that they're not putting a bunch of emphasis on this. So it's just intelligent ways to stay connected, the freedom from cellular. Like it's just simple triple blurbs. I like it with simple icons. I think that's good. And then we're at the bottom now, Apple Fitness Plus. Here's how to get up to 170 off. Which one's right for you? Now, interestingly, Apple has been really big for their iPhone and their iPhone and certainly the Apple Watch Series 10. They've gotten really big on like, hey, here's why Apple's the best place to buy Apple Watch, and here's all these ways that you can get involved with us to buy your Apple Watch directly from us instead of just a nice simple button that says buy now. Honestly, yeah, I don't know. You can do this, but I would have somewhere else like a button that says buy now. And then after they click buy now, like you could show them different options. But like this makes me feel overwhelmed. But anyway, interesting that they're choosing not to do that for the Apple Watch Ultra. That's strange when they've been consistent with having this kind of section a lot of their other products, but they're not doing that with the Ultra 2 for some reason. I wonder why. Now, one thing I do like, I think it's a good idea, is here with the Apple Watch Series 10, they're showing you the Apple Watch Series 10 versus the Apple Watch SE, but they're not even bothering to show you the Apple Watch Ultra. Here, they're comparing the Apple Watch Ultra versus the Apple Watch Series 10 versus the Apple Watch SE. And I think that is smart because the Apple Watch Ultra has lots and lots of advantages over the Apple Watch Series 10. However, just like I said, I mean, it's knowing your market. It's the extreme cyclists and the extreme swimmers and the extreme divers and hikers. Like, those are the people who are going to buy the Apple Watch Ultra. So really, there's not as much of a reason for someone who's really, really considering the Apple Watch Series 10. There's not as much of a reason, unless you fall into one of those categories. There's not as much of a reason to get the Apple Watch Ultra. And so it makes sense. You don't want, for most people, this is the flagship. This is the best, fanciest Apple Watch you're going to want to get. And it does look more elegant, certainly, than the Apple Watch Ultra. And so you don't really want people to get to the bottom of this webpage and be like, oh, but there's actually a better one. Because the Ultra, while it is better in a lot of respects, it also, on the Series 10, they're talking about how thin and sleek it is. This is not a thin and sleek Apple Watch at all. So there are advantages to the Apple Watch Series 10 that actually are disadvantages to the Apple Watch Ultra 2, which isn't the case as much with some of their other products. Like iPad Air to iPad Pro, there's not really anything about the iPad or the iPad Air that is an advantage over the iPad Pro. The iPad Pro is better in pretty much every way. But that's not the same for the Apple Watch Ultra 2. So I think it's smart to let someone see how much better it is in most metrics compared to the other two down here. But I just think it was smart for Apple to exclude it from this. And I thought that was interesting because they certainly aren't doing that with a lot of their other product lines. All right. So down here, yeah, that's it. We're at the footer. We are done. So that is my personal insights on the Apple Watch Ultra 2 redone website for as of September 2024. So yeah, some good stuff there. I will have I have plenty more videos where I am reviewing Apple web pages. So again, you can check that out in a playlist. I'll have that in the description below. But specifically, I just did a video on the Apple Watch Series 10. And so if you would like to check out that video where I go over that web page in detail, you can click right here. And as always, if you want my free marketing crash course where I cover the new fundamentals of modern marketing that drive awareness, grow an audience, get people to buy from you, and I'm also going to cover some cool web design stuff, go to marketingfornormalpeople.com or click or scan right here. All right, catch you later.